So here we are then.
We are again.
You're best.
I'm alright. How are you?
Yeah, good. Do you have a few ciders over the weekend? Look.
No, I did. It was bloody handsome. Somerset's finest. Yeah, I thought I'd go out of county this weekend.
Oh, very nice.
So,
very nice.
Yeah. But what about you?
Yeah, no, well, actually, I had a couple of cans of Murphy's, interestingly enough, of the blacks. I know, exactly. I was just perusing the shelves and thought, oh, I'm going to tin of that for ages. Of course, Ireland were playing on Sunday for the rugby, and then, England were playing on Saturday. So, have to mix up the drinks just to make sure, you're supporting the right nation.
I was going to say, yeah, blimey. But as two proud sort of West Countrymen, we are all about, England were better this week, weren't they, to be fair?
They were, to be fair. They got there. They done all right. It was all good luck.
Yeah, all good.
Anyway, because we don't want to babble on too long, because we've got to listen to a great chat that we've had with...
Who've been chatting to then?
A chap called Andy Taylor-Whyte, who is an expert in presentation skills and presenting yourself in the right way. And because of all of this technological stuff that we're having to do, we had a fantastic conversation about how to come across on the all the tech side of things. So when you're doing the webinars and all of that sort of things, what you've got to consider, what you've got to think about. And interestingly enough, that leads me to a bit of an interesting question around a shirt today. You're wearing a shirt today for our audiences on who can't see. My shirt.
Well, I haven't heard him. Does he mention shirts?
He mentioned shirts, which is why I was really interested. Anyway, let's not spoil the fun. Shirts. Let's hear what he's got to say. Hello and welcome to another Customer Experience R&R. You've just heard from my good self and Ryan introducing this particular episode, and I have the pleasure of having a chat today, a warble, as they say in the West Country, a warble with Andy Taylor-Whyte. Thanks, Andy, for being able to pop along and have a chat with us today. Without further ado, if you could just say hello to the audience and give yourself a bit of an introduction, that'd be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, and hello to the audience. So I'm Andy Taylor-Whyte. I run the Inspiration Bureau, and I help people kind of inform and inspire others. So very much kind of how they can communicate really well with their customers, and also kind of get over some of that anxiety we all have about speaking first to somebody we don't really know, getting a message out either visually or audibly, or just kind of really helping people to build a bit of confidence to be able to speak to potential customers. So that's my thing.
Fantastic. And you mentioned customers there, so I'll go straight onto that one, because presentation skills, all of these things which can often be seen as the internal part of a lot of businesses. So what the heck's it got to do with customers? And that's the sort of thinking that might come out of this. So what, from your point of view, you mentioned the customers there. If you're doing these sort of things right, particularly in the changing world we're living in now, and this virtual world that we're having to live in, what impact can that have on your customers or prospective customers?
I think it's really important to say those, as we probably all know, the first few seconds, the first impression thing really, really, really does matter. And I think especially when meeting new people and potentials, it's that getting that personal touch across, that personal approach, because the science continually is evolving on this at the moment with everything we're doing on lockdown and visually. Is that our attention spans are becoming shorter and shorter all the time, which I think we all know that. You've only got to see the kids at home now, with the laptops and iPads and stuff, that time is reduced. So even in the time it's taken me to say what I've just said, some people will be switching off. And it's really, that's kind of, it's frightening to hear that sometimes, but actually it's absolutely true. So we literally have seconds, not minutes. And I think in those initial conversations, if we are completely going at a customer that we've only just met with blah, 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 here's all my key selling points, they've switched off after the first 2 or 3 sentences, and they're already processing and thinking. And we're not helping ourselves. So it's about being as natural as possible and generating a conversation. Hence why I'm going to stop right now.
No, fantastic. It's a great point, isn't it? The speed of everything that we're getting now, we can order something, it'll come tomorrow. People are expecting stuff to be quicker, to grab attention and to move on. So it's a really interesting thing to be thinking about, particularly from the Zoom side of things, or whichever platform you're choosing to use. So from your point of view, when you're speaking to people about, how to come across through technology. Are there a couple of things that you can provide insight into briefly around what would be your top tips in terms of interacting? You mentioned being quick, being brief, and getting to the point. What else would there be for the audience to think about?
I think what's been really, really interesting and incredibly helpful, I think, for people who do get anxious public speaking. I do myself. The idea of kind of going to the Bournemouth International Centre, like I've done before, in front of 5,000 people and presenting, I'm terrified before I go on. The luxury of what's happening now is we're at home, and I'm in the comfort of my home office at the moment at home. I've got my kind of home comforts around me. I'm used to doing this now, so it lowers my anxiety, and you're not always fully aware now, virtually online, just how many people are watching you. And I think if we think about that too much, the audience is not directly in front of us. It can cause us some real concern. So actually, the more conversational, the more one-to-one we can make any kind of presentation at the moment, I think that helps us to make it more conversational and less about, here's my third bullet point, I need to be pushing down your throat. It's more just absolutely allowing to have a conversation and feel like it's a more friendly dialogue than here is all my content.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's something that I pick up a lot, and I think a lot of people talk about pitches for presenting on networking organizations and various things like that. And some people say, yeah, a little bit not quite fluid enough, but I think there's a fine balance to have there, because what you want to do is be talking about something that's of interest to the audience, not necessarily just you, because I'm sure every business owner out there is absolutely convinced that what they provide is brilliant, and I'm sure it is absolutely fantastic. But unfortunately, when I'm sitting there listening to you talk about, to your point, the 25th point around your CRM system, yeah, I've lost the will to live there, which is quite interesting. Interestingly enough, and I know I've heard you speak previously about the sort of environment that you're in, being at home, etc. Now, I'm sat outside Salisbury Cathedral, obviously, with my virtual world. You're clearly sat in some form of alien spaceship. Brilliant background. How does that work? Is that something again that we need to be considering a lot more in terms of the customer's interaction with us?
Yeah, and actually let me let into a couple of secrets here as well. So I'm in a spare bedroom at home. Last March, when I kind of got a feeling we're going to be doing virtual for a considerable amount of time, I gave the office a bit of a makeover. There's two reasons. One, because it's going back to first impressions. A lot of people just comment on my background. Yeah. And actually, it's tiles that I've just put on the wall to make it appear more kind of studio-y. I don't use it for that purpose at all, really. But I'll do videos from here because there's nowhere else to go, studio-wise at the moment. But a lot of it, again, is for my own personal confidence. That actually I'm in my space. The fact a lot of people kind of go, Andy, why have you still got a jacket on? Where are we now? February 2021. No one's. Somebody said the other day, they're not missing not having to wear a suit. When was the last time you put a suit on? But I kind of think, it's this whole. A lot of this is my own armor. Although I'm trying to portray to listeners, viewers, I'm trying to portray, a confident individual I am. A lot of this is for me. A lot of this presentation stuff is for me to give me a sense of, I'm professional. I'm here, and especially being a presentation consultant. It's kind of, come on, Andy, you better come up with the goods. You've got a couple of minutes, do it. So I think that all these little techniques actually are really important just for yourself, because actually then immediately that kind of, it does emulate into the audience. People see it, people pick up on it naturally. We're very smart as human beings. We spot that instantly. And I think that trust element and all that goes on before you even get into a pitch. We're all incredibly smart, aren't we? I think as potential customers, picking out the products we want or not want through the individuals that are selling them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've just completely committed suicide by that statement as well, haven't I now? I've got to come on, Andy, get on with it.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. You've got to now walk the walk, as they say. But no, I think that's fair enough. You've got to be able to make this. I think that comfort piece. It's the same in any sort of business environment when we're talking about the customer experience piece. If you've got the processes in place, if you've got the structure in place, you're delivering this service, a product, or whatever it is, with more confidence, and therefore that comes over for your clients or prospective clients' point of view. They start to see you and trust you and actually think, oh, do you know what? I can start to work with this person because they are walking the walk, as you say. In terms of sort of places to be seen out there now, obviously you're presenting in various areas. We mentioned networking briefly, and I know we've spoken about a couple of areas that are newer on the market, and they're around all places that you can go and interact with people and talk to thousands and thousands of people. What are your thoughts at the moment in terms of key areas perhaps to get involved in online?
Well, it probably won't come as a surprise to you. My weapon of choice absolutely is LinkedIn, because of the market that I'm looking at. So although I help business owners to kind of be better presenters, a lot of my background is from the charity sector, and I work a lot still with charities to really kind of get their message across. And it's a very similar set of skills, because charities aren't selling products in that sense. They're selling a dream, a belief, that you have to humanly kind of connect with and go, that's the right thing to do, I need to support it. So in the same way, it's the same technique, I think, with selling. And although LinkedIn's my weapon of choice, I do stuff on Facebook, do stuff on Instagram to a lesser degree. The one that I'm getting really excited about right now is Clubhouse. Because Clubhouse, is this, if you've not heard of it yet, it's, this new app from America that's come over, that's still in a beta, still being tested, but is invitation only. It's only on iPhone at the moment, but I understand it's coming out on Android very shortly. But it's conversational rooms. There's no video. You go into virtual talking rooms from all over the world with different subject matters. Anyone can set one up. And if you're a speaker, you get called up to the stage, you could be in front of an audience of 2,000-3,000 people online in these rooms from all over the world. And it's really, part of the reason I'm getting really excited about it is it's opened up, I kind of got my first or second or third connection pools within LinkedIn. Clubhouse has just gone, whoa, hang on, these people I never would have connected with some potential. And it's a new medium at the moment. There are some, can I say, dodgy rooms. There are some, there's some kind of, I can get you $1 million by 5 o'clock, and all that, and they come to those charlatans. But again, I think we pick up on them quite quickly. We go, okay. And the smaller rooms, I've done one this morning, particularly for charities. The smaller rooms, the dialogue, the intimacy of conversation, I've been really surprised. People really share. And I wonder if it's because they're not seen on camera. So it's like in a way it's a virtual radio show, but a very intimate one with people some and some you don't know, and it's building a greater network. So as you can probably tell, I'm getting really excited about the potential of Clubhouse for business. Yeah,
that's really interesting, isn't it? In terms of the whole virtual world having been very visual, and people saying to me, when I say to them, "Oh, let's have a phone call." My God, I haven't picked up a telephone and just spoken to somebody for a long time. And actually, interestingly enough, from that experience point of view, we're obviously interacting with people in different ways, and we're with our podcast, some of it's on the video and some of it's audio. But we are enabling our customers to see everything. But actually, when we then go down to the phone call side of things, we're actually getting back to the idea that we're focusing in on just that voice, just what the words are being used. We haven't got the cues that we still have even via the audio, the visual side of things of online stuff. So being able to offer all of those sort of things in a very professional manner, but yet one that's open and authentic. I think you've mentioned a couple of times there about the authenticity that we need to be having in these forms of communication, and often we force ourselves too much down these professional sort of routes is really interesting.
And you raise a brilliant point there, Rich. As you're coming back to that idea of we're all doing a lot of networking at the moment, aren't we? I think we all see now the individuals, and this isn't a criticism because it's a coping mechanism for some people, but we all see the individuals who are clearly reading their proposition off the edge of the screen or in front of them because that's what they feel they need to do. When in fact, I'd suggest the trust indicator goes higher when we actually hear from the real Richard, and we actually we're looking in the eyes and we're just hearing you in a conversation style, so without your patter. We're all expected to have the patter and have our little script ready, but I think it's the more we tell our own little backstory, the more we're more conversational with it. We all, because I think the interest clock, going back to the interest clock, you can be on some networking rooms, and although there might be 100 odd people in the network, then you're put into smaller breakout areas that could have 6 or 7 people. You still have not long to get your points across and be interesting. So if you was going into your business pattern, which we're all expecting, You know, it's how do you be memorable for all the right reasons?
Yeah.
And that people go, I want to know a little bit more about Richard and what insights do. I want to develop that idea a little bit more. So I'm a great one for people being themselves, genuinely being themselves, taking some of the corporatism off, still being professional, but taking the corporatism off to be more genuine, so that they'll connect better with potential customers.
Absolutely. And in terms of the timing side of things, we're running out of time today, but that really interests me, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners and viewers have been more and more interested to hear about that from you, Andy. So how could they get in contact with you? What's the best way of getting in contact with you, and what have you got coming up that they may want to sort of get involved in?
Yeah, so please link in with me on LinkedIn. It's Andy Taylor-Whyte, so with 2 Y's. If not, the Inspiration Bureau, please just visit my website, where not only are my programs about the presentation code, which is the device I kind of use to help people become much more confident presenters. I run regular online workshops through there, or one-to-one sessions, because again, a lot of people don't want to do this even though I make it an incredibly enjoyable exercise, they don't want to do it with a group of people, you know, so they want very one-to-one. And so I do one-to-one sessions with that as well. And then equally, you'll see my the kind of stuff that I do on there, especially the charity sector, in kind of helping them. And clearly, absolutely loving the virtualism of what we're doing right now, which I didn't this time last year. I was kind of going, how can I do presentation skills and stuff over a camera? Well, actually, I can, and I've learned from that, and it's been a great kind of exercise for me, and I've really enjoyed it.
That's great to hear. You know, development of ourselves, and clearly from all businesses, we're all having to develop and change what we're doing. And the ultimate thing is it can benefit our customers and those people who are interacting with us and not customers yet, or have been customers. They can all benefit from the way we can develop ourselves in this virtual world. And I'm sure you can help people as well when we get back into the real one, hopefully at some point where we can meet up and we can stand in front of people and really, you know, gauge the energy off audiences, because of course that's always great fun, but also anxieties can raise, and I'm sure you can help out from that side of things as well. So it's been absolutely fantastic to speak to you. We've provided you with some insight into what Andy does. If you'd like to contact him, please do. There'll be the information on the bottom of the screen in terms of how to contact Andy. Thank you ever so much for your time, much appreciated.
Thank you, Rich. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. So you see, you see, you did the right thing having your shirt on. Well done, you. Well done.
Do you know what? I was chatting to a client, an accountancy client, and I thought, I'm going to dress up smart because he's an accountant. I got my pajama bottoms on underneath, but we won't talk about that. Wow, that was very interesting. I have to say, that's definitely been a great interview there, Mr. Knight. I particularly identify with some of the points that Mr. Taylor-Whyte was making there. I really get the whole piece around, because you know, when you're working from home, you're in an office, and I see a lot of this on LinkedIn videos and stuff, and people making jokes about it. But it's really hard, isn't it, to know, do you dress up, don't you dress up? Do you make the effort when you're at home because people might accept the fact you're at home, or are your clients expecting you to present in a way that is more office-like? And I thought that was a really good point that he made, in terms of, you know, your first impression is so important, because I think if you don't make an effort, there is the view, or there could be the view, that, you know, you are, what's the right politically correct way of putting this? You're not interested in the work, perhaps, or you're not interested in the individual, not making an effort for that particular person that's looking at you. So I thought it was some great stuff. And I also like what he said about the other thing that really stuck with me was that you're gonna have to edit that bit out.
I'm not editing it out. I'm not, because it's brilliant presentation. You have to know what you've got to say. You do, and I like the way you've highlighted that point for our viewers and our listeners there, because clearly
that was planned
very well, did it?
Yeah, that was absolutely
well done.
Thank you. I can't say the word, but I'm looking for.
So practice.
Anyway,
is
what
really
did you think?
No, well, knowing what you're going to say is a really good one, because often, it's easy to think, well, I know what I'm going to say because I know my business, I know all these things, and you fall into the same olds. If you're planning it and making sure you've got to say, I thought that was really interesting, but also, catching people's attention. You talk about these elevator pitches, we talk about, getting the key points across, and it's even more critical now because people don't want to have to stare at a screen for any longer than necessary.
Attention spans is what we're talking about.
Attention span. That's exactly it. And I'm sure our listeners and viewers' attention span is now finished because they probably just turned off, to be perfectly honest. This is the best bit because we're after the interview and most people probably turned off, so we can warble all we like now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway,
the point I was coming to was I really identified with Andy's point around when you go onto webinars, and it is normal now, isn't it? And you do, if you're in a face-to-face meeting, your attention is taken up by body language and talking to the person, and making eye contact and so on, and really actively listening. And I think in the digital world, there are so many other things that can draw your attention away, like your phone bleeping or the dog running in or whatever it is. So making that first impression so you grab the attention of the people on their digital device even whilst giving advice perhaps is crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. And and it's like you said, you've got to think about all these things, and it's not that dissimilar to what we were doing before. If you're doing a face-to-face sort of thing and you're making a presentation, you've still got to get people's attention. You've got to get them involved. You've got to give them things to consider before they're going to even start to think about having more conversations with you. So, but I think it's really important in terms of timing as well for the amount of time that we look at screens. It can literally suck the energy out of us, and if you've had a full day of presenting and doing these things online, God, it absolutely wears you out. Really tired, probably more so than being stood up on your feet and actually interacting with people face to face. So we've got to be really careful about timings and all those things, because as we know from a customer experience point of view, all of these little things add up, and you may not be talking directly to a customer, but somebody who is a prospect or a suspect. They might be interested in what you're saying, or they're just a connection who is going to listen to what you're going to say, and then they may refer you in the future. Really important to make it nice and concise and to the point, so that people can then share that with others. And I think that's really critical now, because we can't go out and sell to everybody in front of us. We want to be able to inform and educate and enable them to have something to take on.
And the other thing, I think, just building on that point, is and Andy talked about it at length, was around being really comfortable and the conversational aspect of presenting yourself, being yourself, talking as you would do if you were having like we are having a conversation, and making that interaction as interactive as possible. And it's hard on Zoom, isn't it, or Teams or whatever you're using, because the nature of the beast means, if you're going to break out into chat rooms, or you're going to go into different, or you're going to stop sharing your presentation and have a wider debate. And I find personally, when I'm talking to groups of people and I might have a presentation, I actually think less is more. So less slides and more conversation about those.
Absolutely.
But being really confident about what you're doing. Don't be afraid of people are turning up to a meeting or a presentation that you're holding, because they clearly they know that you're going to, or they hope they know, I guess, that you're going to present them with something that is going to add value. So I thought some great messages. Great messages.
Absolutely. And as we say, key part of the whole customer experience piece, it might be the bit before that you've actually got people involved in your organization, or buying from you, or doing whatever it is from you, but we're all having to interact via these new technologies. So something we can't ignore. Even now, when we're getting used to it, we've still got to make sure that we're doing it in the right way, and that people are finding it of interest, and keeping it to a time, a length of time which is suitable for people to keep connected with it, and then enable them to want to come back and listen to some more as well. Small pieces, and coming back for more and more. With that in mind, I think it's probably time that we then did one, as they say. But in terms of next week, this is going out on Friday, the 19th of February. In a few days' time, our illustrious leader, all hail Boris, and his hair, will be giving us some information about what's going to be happening, the next stages of this whole lockdown thing. So going to be an interesting piece to hear about what's going on there. So I think
Perhaps
we're going to be
warble about that.
Bit of a warble about that.
Yeah, should we warble about that and get a view? And remember, for our illustrious viewers and listeners, please like, share and comment, and let us know what you'd like us to talk about, what you're curious about. How can we help with your customer experience needs as we come out of lockdown? You know, post some questions for us to answer. That'd be great.
We'd love that. We'd love that. I've been Richard Knight.
I've been Ryan Uxty below, and sorry for the cock up in between, but hopefully that made you smile.